Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. At the bottom here, we have none other than Sako. He is the number 2 in the 501, the English-speaking server, and he's currently at number 4 in the world. He is playing as a cost control specialist and going heavily aggro in the very first turn. Very signature of Sako. At the top here, we have Sparty. He is currently number 77 in the 501 server and 192 in the world. He's playing as a elite specialist. And of course, he is playing standard. Now, right off the bat, we see Sako very aggressively placing down his fans here. He does have the 2 new Tarantula units, which serves as mega tanks, allowing the fans to get the damage done without getting themselves destroyed. This is going to be a little tricky running into Stormcallers, as they are quite good against these fans. However, with the units being so close to the tower, these Stormcrawlers probably will only get about 1 to 2 shots left before the units start to engage. And remember, if the units run in too far, the Stormcaller does have this red radius, which is minimum firing distance, so not allowing it to shoot anything that gets too close. It seems like Sparty has already done his side of the board, and Sako is just deciding on what's the best way to dodge and minimize the Stonecaller missiles. This is a very interesting board because very rarely you see this sort of aggressive placement, especially with fans right on the line. Fan carry used to be a thing. In the past, it has really not been as popular recently, but hey, we'll see if anyone would have made this work, it would have been Sako. So let's see if this works. All right, so we got the Tarantula getting onto the Stormcaller. This tower on the bottom right is upgraded, which means they are going to have a slightly shorter debuff. Haste module is picked up by both sides. I think, oh, there it is. So this confirms it. The moment you start to see early tech on fans, and especially if the first tech is going to be range without any sort of wasp on the board, this is a very telling sign that we are going to see a fan carry. Range protects the fans, so allow it to get a lot more shots in. And if the fans survive before the unit dies on the other end, they will get the experience. And fans is one of those units that can level up fairly quickly, as you can see here. Just needs 600 experience to get to the next level. Comparatively, if you're looking at things like a Tarantula, it needs 1,000, so a lot more experience required for larger units. Sako continues to add on more fans here at this corner, completely ignoring the right-hand side, which I think is smart, right? You want to concentrate your fire, especially if your fire is going to start off as fans, since they don't do a lot of damage. So you really want to get them as close together as you possibly can. Now, one beautiful thing, as you notice, is that even though the Stormcrawlers are putting in the work, right now, if you look at the damage, they're actually doing a ton of damage. Currently number 2 for the round. Oh, just falling out of favor because of this Mustangs, but they're definitely the number 2 highest damage dealers of the game so far from Sparty. But what I was going to mention is that notice how the Stormcaller and the positioning of the Tarantulas, notice how when the round starts, most of the missile fall onto the Tarantulas and not so much on the fans. So this is quite an interesting setup, right? As you can see, we have 2 squares down and 2 squares to the side. And because they all kind of walk in the same speed, 6 meters, 8 meters, this might be one of these tiny high-level nuanced things that if you have units that's moving at the same speed, 2 squares behind, 2 squares to the side, it will give you enough space to dodge some of the Stormcaller missiles. Anyway, so we have a unit drop. Level 3 Rhino is picked up by Sako, extremely common for any sort of aggro play. With the Rhino, you can have it in the center, you can mobile beacon it to the side, right? And you can keep your opponents guessing. With aggro, one of the key themes is to make your opponents waste investment or waste or putting down improper counters to your units. And one way to do that is to bait your opponent into defending where they are not need to. Because for you, you just need to get in on one side. On the other side, you're just going to keep leveling up your tower because it doesn't matter. As long as you get one tower, you're probably going to get the game. So Rhino is very powerful in kind of baiting left or right. In this case, we have the Rhino coming down here on a flank for Sako. On Sparty's side, which I haven't talked so much, he is already defending fairly nicely with these Mustangs. So one thing with carry fans is that in the later stage of the game, you don't really have a very reliable counter unless you have high-level Mustangs to deal with, because your Arclight is not going to be the most useful unit against the fans. Your Wraith, once the fans get Ignite, or even in this case they get armor-piercing bullets, can be brought down very quickly. Stonecrawlers, they won't get as many shots, especially if the fans are this close. So really, you need to, once you start to catch wind of the fan carry, you need to get the Mustangs in, you need to start leveling them up, putting items on them so that in the later stage of the game, not only they become so proficient at killing everything else, because Mustang scales extremely well, they are also going to be great against the fans. All right, round 3, and already is looking really strong for Sako here. These fans, they're all level 1. This one's going to get to level 2. Already killed most of the units. And of course, they're not going to get to this Wraith because it has armor, and it's just a one big tank that is effectively stopping fans from killing. Now, speaking of armor, a lot of the new players believe that the armor, like the purpose of the armor, they're going to take it as face value, right? It, makes the unit more beefy, protects them against certain levels, certain units, like Mustangs or fans. But at high level play, you almost always see damage dealing tech, things like range or increased damage, ahead of defensive tech, because it doesn't matter if you're defending your opponent, but if they can still continue to kill you, they're going to out-level you, and if they out-level you, then you're going to be in a very bad place. In this case, the armor is used very strategically, not so much to prevent, like let's say if you're going to put down marksman, it's not so much to prevent that sort of damage. It's specifically designed to prevent fangs damage, and also very specifically what it's trying to do is to try to get lock on from these fans and prevent these fans from killing anything else. And if you can stop the fans from killing anything else, then the fans will never get experience, they will never level, and which means at the end game your carry fans are going to be quite weak. Now, unfortunately, there is going to be a double debuff, a debuff, and that's going to allow these fans to deal damage with the Wraith, but with armor and also with nano, that is going to be quite difficult. And as you can see right now, all the fans are being locking onto this Wraith, allowing these Mustangs just clean the board. So a very potent strategy at the higher level. So far, it's been a beautiful game from Sparty too. Even though Sako is just doing Sako things, right? There's a lot of the decisions that we've seen so far are quite advanced. They are definitely in line with the MMR and the placements on the ladder for these players. All right, round 3, we got unit drops. Melting Point is picked by Sparty. And I believe Melting Point is going to get picked by Sako as well. No. So the reason I said Melting Point might be a good option is because if you want to deal with this Wraith, there is currently no option to deal with the Wraith. Sako did get the Melting Point, it's just not through unit drops, which is a bit curious. He is cost control, but he will still have to pay the 200 to unlock this. I think what he's trying to do with his sledgehammers at level 2 is he's going to do the exact same thing that Sparty is doing to him, and by getting armor. Right now, these Mustangs are a menace, and they are essentially the late game counter to these high level fans. So right now we're kind of in this standoff. Whoever can block the opponent's late game carry units, being the Mustangs and the fans, from leveling, will be in a severe advantage. So Sako realized this, and because level 1 sledgehammers can only block 60 of the damage, and level 2 fans already are doing more than that, he needed level 2 sledgehammers to block 120, effectively stopping these two Mustangs from getting any experience once they lock onto the sledgehammers. And even with this one, level 3 Mustang, they're going to be killing tanks very slowly. Now, with the first round, I don't think there's enough money to get that technology, but I definitely see it coming in the later rounds. Alright, curious placement of the missile interceptor. I think what it was really to prevent a firestorm, which is very effective against fans as they're very small. But for this round, I think it's just going to go to Sparty with these really growing Mustangs. I think these are all going to be level 3. This one might even be level 4 if it can get to this melting point. Free anti-missile device. Excellent. All right. So far, very close game. Sparty's being just going at it. It's a flawless game so far. Sako is already down to 2,300. Assault fans in aggro mode with carry fans. This is as good of a card as they come, right? Sure, assault fans reduces the range of these little guys, but it increases their damage by 40% and makes them even run even faster. So now these fans are running at 14 meters per second. Squad of crawlers are running at 16 meters. So these guys are just a little bit slower than a squad of crawlers, and they're just gonna get up there and they're gonna start shooting. Very interesting Rhino drop. If you're wondering why that Rhino drop is right here, every time when you drop a unit, whether it's a Rhino or Vulcan, whatever unit that they land on, they essentially trade HP. So in this case, this Rhino is probably going to kill maybe 3 to 4 sledgehammers as they're trading off HP. And because right now Sparty doesn't have a very reliable way to getting rid of sledgehammer, speaking of which, they did pick up armor. I think this is a very good and also a very high level decision. Armor piercing bullets is added to the Mustangs. This is interesting because right now they're still not going to be killing these sledgehammers as effectively. However, they can start to level really aggressively if they get onto anything other than these sledgehammers. So for example, like the tarantula, they're getting it done really, really fast. And not to mention with the fans, right now the fans are what? I'm gonna click on one of these. 234 HP. One of these Mustangs deal 16. Well, that's with debuff. Without debuff, it's 160. So 2 shots from Mustang, and because they shoot so fast, they're able to clear out this fan blob extremely quickly. Okay, round 7. Now, a few things to note. First of all, Nano dropped again. Smoke Bomb is a great option. Right now, I think Sparty has the range advantage and Sako pretty much has the speed advantage. If you can get Smoke Bomb and you can tie them down here, right? And that'd be fantastic. And as I was saying, here comes this smoke. Let's talk about the board a little more. I feel like there's so many things happening at this sort of high level game. It's very easy to get lost and get overwhelmed. Now, first thing first, pay attention to the level of these fans. We got 5 squads of orange fans. One of them is already level 4. They are triple techs now with armor piercing bullets. So this level 4 fans, every single one of these units does 451 damage every second, right? So this is a huge, huge number because there are 18 fans per squad. So it's 451 times 18, right? So that's almost what, 8,000 damage per second for a squad of fans? Huge. And they're not going to stop because these guys are just going to keep on leveling up. And Sako is adding more fans to it. But what I think Sako really needs right now is the meat shield in front of the fans because Sparty has multiple units to deal with the fans. Not Mustangs, of course. We'll talk about it for quite a while. Arc lights with range are pretty good against fans as well, especially if they're not heavily leveled. Right now, the problem with Sparty is they cannot get through that initial meat shield by these high-level sledgehammers. This one is now level 3 with nano, with armor. So cannot get through the meat, while these fans are doing so much damage to Sparty's backline. And what Sparty really needs is something to get through the tanks, and that answer is going to be the Scorpions. Scorpions naturally are the predator of sledgehammers. If you see my last two videos, this Scorpion should be able to one-shot this sledgehammers. It should be able to one-shot this sledgehammer, right? So level 2 Scorpion can one-shot, I believe goes up to level 4. Yeah, level 2 Scorpions can one-shot like a level 4 sledgehammer. So very powerful. And once you get rid of these sledgehammers, then the Mustangs will just go to work on this fence. As you can see right here in this corner, right? Once the sledgehammers are gone, Mustang just go and everything just dies. It's actually a really good round here wherever there's coverage with the Scorpion. Right? At the moment the Scorpion dies, and you notice just how slowly things are being destroyed. On the other side, where there's no Scorpion, these fans, even though they're level 3, are just being destroyed by this sledgehammer. Absolutely devastating. Now, while this may look very simple for Sparty, it is also a little dangerous, because if, and I'm sure Sako knows, right? If the main counter is going to be Scorpion, and if the Scorpion is what ties out the whole strategy together, all Sako really needs is something that gets rid of the Scorpion. So he can either go with Melting Point to get an early lock onto the Scorpion. These guys were pretty exposed, considering there aren't a lot of chaff clear coming in from there aren't a lot of chaff coming in from Sparty. Everything that runs forward gets demolished by these fans. So having Melting Point, 1 per every Scorpion, could be pretty effective. Right now, I think the defense for that is just to get range on a Scorpion. It ensures that the Mustangs, which are currently getting, well, this is with temp range, 150, Scorpion 155. So Scorpion will always be 5 meters behind the Mustang. So even though your regular chaff is going to die very quickly, the Mustangs can survive for a little bit longer. Now hold that thought for a second. We do have a factory with launcher overload and a mobile beacon straight to the tower. Classic Sako. He is famous for his war factory play, and in this case, going aggro. He knows if you can get tower, he's going to get Scorpions. If you can get Scorpions, he's going to get everything else. So it doesn't matter if there's going to be a 1,000 plus whatever this is, 250, a 1,250 spending on a war factory, he's able to get it. He's also getting more distraction. Is more of a distraction, so these crawlers actually run towards in that area. Now with the fence this heavily upgraded, I think this war factory is going to get in there and is going to get the tower. It's going to get a tower. Boom, there's the tower. And now just watch these fans destroy everything. Alright, we got another power coming down here. Yeah, fans walking in, killing these Mustangs. Yeah, very good, very good. War factory coming in. Alright, we're getting onto the Scorpion. This melting point, even though it's a level 3 chat melting point, it is being taken down with a fully charged level 1 melting point. And this round goes to Sako. Now, is this the turning round? Is Sako going to come back from here? Well, let's see. Another unit drop. I think Fire Badger is going to be probably the unit of choice for both. None of the other unit makes sense. Wasp is terrible for Sparty because of the... Well, it's terrible for both because we already got really high-level fans as well as Mustangs. Same goes with Overlord. Sabretooth is interesting, but there aren't a lot of huge units. And Sabretooth don't really contest against a Scorpion that is currently higher level than a Sabretooth. Fire Badger makes the most sense because not only they're a great distraction, they're great chaff clear, and they are tanky. So for Sparty, it is good because now the Sledgehammers will focus on these Fire Badgers for a bit longer. And then for Sako, they will be able to clear out some of the initial chaff. We do have a few squads of Quallers that these Fire Badgers are great for. Right now, they're just being used as the distraction on the side. Okay, so let me talk about this real quick. Very interesting. So first, you notice that the factory from Sako on the far right has been sold, and it has been repositioned here in with the main army and mobile beacon to the tower. At the higher level play, like I said at the very beginning of this video, when you're playing aggro, one of the key themes of your strategy is to make sure that your opponent waste their money on defense or on non-optimal units. So in this case, Sako originally had a war factory here, going for the mobile beacon and won him the round. He was fully expecting Sparty to go with, let's say, a melting point, right? So if you had a melting point here, now that melting point will look kind of silly because they're never going to get into any sort of meaningful battle until much later. Just been standing around shooting fans, shooting sledgehammers, not going to be really great contributor to that fight. In this case, Sparty actually responded with a level 2 war factory, being an elite specialist. So this is a very expensive unit. You got 200 to unlock, 1200 to bring this unit to the board. And right now, this unit is just going to stick around shooting at this flank here. Now, if it gets lucky, it can come down here, get tower, and hopefully clear up this side. But for 1400 of investment, you could have used that money a lot better with technologies, right? Somewhere else in the board. So kudos to Sako for baiting Sparty with his war factory. I still think Sparty could use another squad of Scorpion. I think we just need one squad of Scorpion per sledgehammers. Because and also with the introduction of the Fire Badgers, I just think there's getting a huge demand for Scorpions everywhere. Right now, these 3 Scorpions are quite flimsy, because once you get rid of one, that's like 33% of your damage that you would need to clear out Sako's front line, and that's not a good feeling. All right, so we got oil once again. This time it's being ignited by the Fire Badger, and now you can see the power of the war factory. Right, compare these 2 war factories: Sako's war factory and Sparty's war factory. Sparty's war factory barely broke 23,000 in damage, and it's a level 2. This war factory is already at 223,000, being a level 1. So this is just the value of units based on their positioning. And at high levels, once you get baited, this is going to change the balance of the game a lot. Now, don't count Sparty out just yet. It is a level 2 factory. Oh, he even got tech on it. He's got launcher overload, which means once it gets range, it freaking slaps. So, ooh, is getting locked on by the melting point. I don't think it's going to get into range, though. Let's see. Oh, here's the debuff, which means, look at this. Wow, just a few volleys gets rid of that. What are you going? What are you going? Get to the melting point. Get to the melting point. Whoa, whoa, just barely. Not able to get the melting point. And with Nano, I think this round is going to go to Sako. Wow, what an epic game so far. Back and forth. But Sako, I think, is showing a bit of edge here with his experience by using not just your conventional tactic like the counters and your positioning, but uses psychology like baiting your units. So every trick in the book is being used here by this very high level, respectable player. Now, can Sparty survive the onslaught? I mean, Sparty has been doing great so far. He's brought Sako essentially within striking distance. He just needs one more round and he's able to bring Sako down. Now, the question is, how will he end this game, or will he end this game? First of all, very interesting again, Rhino drops on these medium-sized units, trading HP and just getting rid of them very quickly. Acid is being added to the Scorpions, making them more than enough to deal with the tanks, and also freeing them up a little bit, because once you hit the tanks or anything behind it, your Mustangs can come in and clean them very quickly. And Acid, I think, is primarily another way to deal with war factories. Sure, war factory right now is all sorts of menacing with range and with launcher overload, but once they get acided, a melting point can kill it 3 times as fast. And not to mention all the other Mustangs. All right, we finally start to see additional Scorpions, which is very nice. This war factory here. So here's another psychology here. I'm going to pause the game real quick. Sako did end up adding another war factory at this corner. I think his thought process was, first of all, I'm going to bait you. You're going to get the war factory. And now I'm going to pretend that I am not going to go anything here. So I'm hoping you will stop getting a war factory, maybe selling a war factory. So it's kind of like a reverse psychology. I'm going to bait you, and I'm going to bait you to sell your units. But it looks like Sparty did keep the level 2 war factory, which did actually extremely well last round. Got really close. But with the tower down and this overwhelming force just coming in, oh my god, to the Scorpions. And now this is going to be a huge hit. We have 2 war factory left on the field and the melting point. This is going to bring Sparty down to a striking distance. Oof. That is super rough. That is super rough. Alright, so we got round 11. Laser sight, great item for both sides really. Skill spec, nothing's really off cooldown, so I guess both is going to go for laser sight. Let's slow it down a little bit and let's talk the game a little bit more. So for Sako, he's got this massive attack here. Not only he's got high level fans, right? We've got like level 5, level 5, level 5, level 4. He also has a huge flank. So all this 90-degree flank right here is all gunning towards this tower. Huge. Smoke is going to do a tremendous amount of damage because it forces the unit to move all the way up here, allowing Sparty's units to do even more damage during their approach. We're going to see double tech melting point with suck and energy diffraction, triple tech and range. And we're going to put down even more melting point. And these guys are going to support not only clearing out the front lines of the sledgehammers, but also bringing down the war factory from a distance. And of course, we have these high-level Mustangs, which are going to be used as chaff clear at the beginning, but at the later stages, they're going to come in, gets the fans, and also tank the damage from these war factories. We have one single overlord being purchased by Sako, primarily for the purpose of photon. Now remember, photon does negate the effect of acid, which means these overlords, this one here, is not going to suffer that 250% additional damage. Shield bubbles are being put down. Come on, Sparty, you need one more shield right here. There we go. Protecting all your most valuable assets. We'll get temp range. Sako is also getting temp range and getting speed as well. What about levels here? We're going to have level 2 attack, so no armor upgrades whatsoever. Everything goes into the attack. He really wants to end this round super quickly, whereas Sparty is going with a more balanced approach, being the defender. He does have a Scorpion right here. I think the purpose is just to have that asset delivered super early in the round, so it forces the war factory to walk over. But I think this is very expensive, right? This is a 400 investment of that singular asset. Does his crawler have asset? His crawler does have asset. He could have just totally gone for that 200 crawler asset and just put a pack of crawler right there on the line. It would have achieved the same purpose, and your crawler now are a bit more useful. But we'll see though, right? These are super high level, super nuanced decisions. There's no real right and wrong. We just have to watch the board and see exactly what happens. Now, first of all, melting point. Ooh, already logging onto the sledgehammers, doing work, getting rid of the sledgehammers. Now, can the Mustangs come in quick enough and start shooting? No, the Mustangs are being stuck, and there we go. The floodgate is now open. Mustangs can now freely shoot at the fans, but the tower went down, and with the tower down, now remember, this is a level 4 melting point. It does have suck. And once you get the suck on the war factories, the war factory is now unable to bring down the melting point. Oh my god, Sako is defeated by Sparty in an epic final round with a triple tech on the melting point and a beautifully placed board. They're just layer after layer matching up Sako's army blow per blow. First of all, you're getting rid of the meat of the sledgehammers, of the fire badgers with these high level units like the scorpions and also melting point. Then as your unit get forward, you spray the ground with acid, and locking them on with the melting point. And then once your fans spring forward, you got your Mustangs to clean them up. So extremely well played game by Sparty. I'm quite upset. I was watching this in the Mechabellum Discord lobby. There was quite a few spectators. It was just a fantastic game. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.